Now we're going to take a look at labor force, employment, and unemployment statistics. But first, let's define the civilian non-institutional population age 16 and older. This is comprised of working individuals, who are considered employed, and non-working individuals. Now, within the category of not working individuals, there are those absent from their job as a result of vacation, illness, etc., and these individuals are still considered employed. If an individual is on layoff and awaiting recall, they are considered unemployed. If an individual is actively looking in the last 4 weeks and also available for work, they are also considered unemployed. And if they do not meet any of the above criteria, they are not considered part of the labor force. Note that the civilian non-institutional population aged 16 and older excludes members of armed forces and people who are institutionalized. Now we're going to look at some basic definitions. First definition is of the labor force. The labor force is consisted of those individuals who are employed and unemployed. Next, the labor force participation rate, which is the labor force divided by the civilian non-institutional population multiplied by 100. Next, the employment population ratio, which is employed divided by the civilian non-institutional population times 100. And the unemployment rate. First, the U3. This is considered the official unemployment rate, which is equal to the total number of unemployed individuals divided by the labor force, altogether multiplied by 100. And finally, the U6 unemployment rate, which is the broadest measure of labor underutilization. This can be found by adding the total unemployed and marginally attached to the labor force and people at work part-time for economic reasons, and dividing that by the labor force and those marginally attached to the labor force, altogether multiplied by 100. Note that the labor force participation rate, the employment population ratio, the U3 unemployment rate, and U6 unemployment rate are all reported as percentages. Now let's take a look at how to calculate labor force, employment, and unemployment statistics. Below is an example. Suppose that there are 10,000 individuals in our civilian non-institutional age 16 and older population. Within this 10,000, there are those who are employed and those who are not in the labor force. Let's break down those who are employed. There are 7,600 full-time individuals who are employed and 1,500 individuals who are employed but part-time for economic reasons. On the other hand, there are those who are not in the labor force. There are those who are marginally attached to the labor force, and there are 300 of those individuals, and there are others who comprise of 100 individuals. First, let's define the labor force. Remember that the labor force is equal to the number of employed individuals plus the number of unemployed individuals. First, for our employed individuals, there are 7,600 full-time employed individuals and 1,500 part-time individuals for economic reasons. That is how we get 9,100 for our population that is employed. To find the number of unemployed individuals, we take our total civilian non-institutional age 16 and older population, subtract those individuals who are employed full-time, subtract those individuals who are employed part-time for economic reasons, and subtract those not in the labor force. That is how we get 10,000 minus 7,600 minus 1,500 minus the quantity of 300 plus 100. Altogether, that yields 500 unemployed individuals. So as a total, the labor force is comprised of 9,100 employed individuals plus the 500 unemployed individuals. That gives us 9,600. Next, let's take a look at the labor force participation rate, which can be found by dividing the labor force by the civilian non-institutional population and multiplying that value by 100. Remember that our labor force, as we calculated above, is 9,600, and our civilian non-institutional population is 10,000. So 9,600 divided by 10,000 altogether multiplied by 100 equals 96%. To find the employment population ratio, we take the number of employed individuals, divide it by the civilian non-institutional population, altogether and multiply it by 100. Remember, when we calculated for the labor force, we found that there are 9,100 employed individuals. So we take that number, 9,100, and divide it by 10,000, which is our civilian non-institutional age 16 and older population, and multiply that by 100. That gives us an employment population ratio of 91%. Next, let's calculate the U3 unemployment rate, which is the official unemployment rate. We can find this by taking the total number of unemployed individuals, which is 500, and dividing it by our labor force, which is 9,600. When we multiply that by 100, we get 5.21%. And lastly, let's take a look at the U6 unemployment rate, which is the broadest measure of labor underutilization. To calculate the U6 unemployment rate, we take the total number of unemployed individuals, add the number of individuals who are marginally attached to the labor force, add the number of individuals who are at work part-time for economic reasons, and divide that by the labor force plus the marginally attached to the labor force individuals. We take that ratio and multiply it by 100 to express it as a percent. So, for our calculation, it is 500, the number of unemployed individuals, plus 300, the number marginally attached to the labor force, plus 1,500, which is individuals at work part-time for economic reasons, and divide that by 9,600, which is our labor force, plus 300, which is the number of marginally attached individuals to the labor force, and multiply that ratio by 100, and that gives us 23.23%. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.